peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. It is the 24th day of May 2021. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and the show is Good Morning Africa, where I get to bring you the latest, especially from Kenya, by taking us through the latest news, looking at the leading newspapers here in the country. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching us from. Before we do that, I'd like to bring us up to date with the latest figures of COVID-19. And the statistics as they stand this morning, Kenya, the number of confirmed cases right now standing at 168,432 cases. The death toll is 3,059, and recoveries so far in the country are now standing at 114,537 cases. Uganda, 43,734. The number of confirmed cases. The death toll in Uganda is 3,056. Recoveries is 42,880. And South Africa, the leading country in the continent this morning, totaling up cases of 1,635,465. And the people who have since died in South Africa from COVID-19 right now standing are 55,802. Recoveries is 1,539,395. South Sudan, 10,652 cases, and the death toll in South Sudan is 115. Recovery so far is 10,462. And let's just go on to the total number of cases in Africa, and right now standing at 4,755,948. The people who have since succumbed to COVID-19 in the continent standing at 128,393. Recovery so far is 4,263,307. So that is where we stand this morning. And of course, the global statistics have surpassed 167.5 million cases globally. And the number of people who have died are nearing 3.5 million cases so far. Those are the global statistics. All right. So let's just leave that there and get on with the latest news update this morning. And before I do that, I'd like to bring in my panelist, Douglas Kirimi. Douglas, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu, and also to our crew at our headquarters, and also to our viewers across the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where they are watching us from. Thank you.
All right, very well, and nice to have you this morning as we wait for the rest to join. I'll just go through the headlines, and then we shall pick on which stories to talk about this morning. On the Daily Nation, the main headline, they are reading Uhuru hand in Muturi's coronation. It all started with President Kenyatta's remark in January that the presidency was not a preserve for only two communities. One of the planners of Saturday's ceremony says, taking the cue, Meru's Njuri Ncheke elders then made a suggestion to the head of state, which he did not oppose. So that is what we see, and the story is on page 4 of the Daily Nation. And just down there, who wanted Bashir dead had questions 8 months ago. Mohamud Bashir Mohammed was photographed in the company of President Kenyatta inspecting a project his farm was undertaking. Just who was this man and who wanted Bashir dead? The story is on page 10 of the Daily Nation. And COVID fears ahead of Madaraka. The spike in infections in Kisumu and Migori counties have been blamed on failure by residents to comply with the health ministry protocols including wearing of masks, washing hands, and social distancing. And then just up there, lobby once Vihiga County dissolved, a group set to petition the president. And of course, the story of the volcano, what had happened in Goma, a river of lava from eruption in DRC, comes to a halt. The story is on page 19 of the Daily Nation. And we just cross over to the Star, a newspaper. The main headline they're reading: Power struggles rock DP Ruto's Hustler Nation. Regional leaders have been trying to outshine each other in their quest to create power centers around the deputy president. And just beside their, EAC gets orders to attach Obado's luxury cars and house. And then KCSE candidates to know university placing this week. And that's it. And then we go to the Standard newspaper, and the main headline: bitter battle breaks out in Ruto's camp. A simmering supremacy wars among the DP's Mount Kenya allies threaten to split the Hustler Nation ahead of the 2022 election. The latest headache being which of the allied parties should or should not field a candidate in Kiamba poll. And I think that is a story, an interview that the Standard did. I think Nelson Harvey, savior or troublemaker, and then data and prostitution outside a city school. I think some kindergarten school in the CBD there. So let's just start with the headline here on the Standard newspaper, the bitter battle that is breaking out now in Ruto's camp. And the story is on page 5 of the Standard newspaper. And it has been a political season like none for President Uhuru Kenyatta. The president has found himself caught between the deep waters of the judiciary and in the soggy mires of the murky politics. A mortifying ruling on the BBI bill, which was followed swiftly by electoral defeats for his wing of the Jubilee Party in Bonchari and Chuja constituencies and in Ruri ward in Nyandarua, have left him in a field choked with political thorns and thistles. Are the political good times slipping through President Uhuru Kenyatta's fingers? Is he entering his sitting dark season in the fog of bright seasons? And every incumbent in chief comes to terms with reality. And I think this is a story that we will be looking at, I think, at 11 when Dr. Matsanga will be here. So maybe I'll just leave that there. President Uhuru Kenyatta and some of the setbacks that Jubilee Party has been suffering in the by-elections that we've just had. And just beside that, on page 5, bitter sibling rivalry among allies of Deputy President William Ruto in Mount Kenya region is threatening to split the Hustler Nation ahead of the 2022 polls. The forthcoming Kiambaa parliamentary by-election has lifted the lead on the simmering supremacy battle in Tanga camp as leaders jostle to be in Ruto's inner circle based on their perceived influence in the region. I'll just start off as we continue with this conversation. Douglas Kirimi, are you surprised of these new developments in the Jubilee Tanga wing?
Miriam, I'm not surprised because that is a formation of people who are full of deceit and hypocrisy and also political sabotage. Miriam, you cannot continue doing sabotage to your friends and also people that have believed in you before. And then you expect when you build that other place that you are going to build, that you are going to enjoy a life without saboteurs. So whatever is happening at UDA today is their own doing, and also is their own time to harvest, Miriam. Remember, there is that popular quote that we say that our payment is here on earth. We shall be paid everything that we want to be paid here on earth. When it comes to heaven, we are going to be singing and other things. But at the end of the day, when you look at UDA and their machinations and everything that that has come of UDA, it is something, Miriam, that calls for a retrospect from their end to see where the rain started beating them. And where did the rain start beating them is where they would get projects done by the administration of President Uhuru Kenyatta and continue mahiming and also calling him a political rimdak, a president that has done nothing for his people, a president that has not done anything. Whereas in Madira constituency, where Rigathi Gachagua comes from, every road that has been done there has been done by the national government. There is no road that has been done by CDF. As we all know, CDF goes between 100 million and 187 million Kenya shillings, and that cannot alone build a road, Miriam. So these people took advantage of president's benevolence and also development record to be able to besmirch him and also destroy his legacy, are also getting their own fair of share. Less than 6 months since they formed the UDA, Miriam. And at the end of the day, keep asking yourself, if Keka Kemani, Susan Keka Kemani, if Kemani Ngonjiri continues destroying each other and going for each other political jagra in Nakuru County, how far are they going to sustain this UDA? If Medeka Rinturi and his counterparts in Meru continue going for each other, what are they showing us? At the end of the day, Miriam, we want to be very fair to UDA. UDA is a rocket boat, and it is going to sink every one of them inside the same boat if they don't change their tact, Miriam. Because we have even seen UDA fighting Moses Kuria. Moses Kuria goes out of the way, tries to get Koimburi not to be arrested over fake academic credentials, allegations, and also fraud. And the campaigns for Koimburi in Juja under day and night. But at the end of the day, Rigathi Gachagua, Kimani Ichung'wah picks the candidate and rushes with them to Karen. Moses Kuria comes and gives out ultimatums in public. So UDA is a boat of a bandit of political bandits who continue taking advantage at the slightest moment, led by none other than William Ruto himself, a man that has served President Uhuru Kenyatta a healthy plate of political chilies that the president has been unable to be able to completely shrug off, because at the end of the day, Deputy President William Ruto continues drawing public salaries, Miriam, taxes that I filled this month. Dr. William Ruto continues moving around and feeding his political troops for 2022, using our own taxes, Miriam, to fuel his own personal ambition to be president, Miriam. Remember, even the president became a public official on 4th of March 2013. The president did not become president in his own personal capacity. When he became president, that is when he became a public official. And that is the end of state of this nation. So William Ruto should stop all things that he is doing in Jubilee Party and go to his UDA party. If he becomes president, I will obey him. Actually, I will not be making noise about him anymore. But he cannot continue taking advantage of the Jubilee agenda, Jubilee Party, and everything that has put him in office, Miriam, and also think that his UDA party, his own party members are not going to make sure that they are going to sink him politically, and they sink everything that is William Ruto and everything that is UDA, Miriam, because he is being served what he has been serving the president. I submit, Miriam.
Okay, thank you so much. That is Douglas Kirimi, all the way from Meru County there. Professor Jared Onyari, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to Miriam, Douglas, and our fellow panel viewers from wherever they are, their evening or their morning.
All right, very well. Karibu sana. Now,
yeah, you know, Miriam, surely, is this really worth my comment? I will be elevating the BB's party, and the sooner I desist from engaging in a discussion to do with the deputy president, the better. But be it as it may, let me just have this to say. Miriam, how are political parties made? You must have an ideology. You must have a philosophy. Well, if you have a philosophy and you have an ideology, Miriam, it brings you together and you will not quarrel. So this one, the supremacy you are trying to say to see that is an ideology that is hypophans. The other day, you see the People's Empowerment Party happened to have won the Chucha seat by miscarriage, and now they think that now they are popular in the region, they can be able to be fielding. But I want to know that to believe that there was a lot of input, a lot of resources pumped by UDA. So that's why the UDA feels that now they have seen what happened in Chuja. Then they want also to go full blown so that they can be able to contest and win, and so then they can be able to embarrass the president as his backyard. That's what it is, because People's Empowerment Party, as it stands, it will be just a village party in Gatundu. But if UDA could have won direct, it would have created an impact, and that's why those ones who want to, the way Douglas has rightly put, Miriam, some of the people who are supporting the deputy president is not that they believe in him. It is because they believe in the ideologies of UDA. It is because Miriam, wherever they go to Karen, they receive handouts. So all the handouts which were given out, or the resources which were given to People's Empowerment Party in Chuja, they were not able to access this money. This is what you can be able to access, Miriam. It is not that they believe on that. It is because they want who will control resources and the money which will be used in Kiamba by elections. So that's the word on it. But what I want to say that, Miriam, I don't know the ideology, the philosophy of UDA. It is not a democratic. It is not democratic. Let me just submit up that point, Miriam.
Okay. Clearly, Prof does not want to be drawn into this politics, but very good questions that you've asked. What were the basis of the formation of this party, or the parties that we have in this country? And they don't seem to be formed on ideology. So that's why you say it's easy to just be, you're on one side this day and the next day you're on the other side. And UDA was formed inside of Jubilee Party, and now this PEP has been formed inside of UDA Party. Douglas Kirimi, just getting a taste of whatever it is, the mayhem they caused in the larger Jubilee Party. Douglas?
Miriam, at the end of the day, when you look at what is happening at UDA, they have been breaking Jubilee and taking advantage of what is convenient. And that is why I said politics of convenience can only take William Ruto too far. And also, it can only do so much. At the end of the day, the people that the people that are with William Ruto, they don't love William Ruto. They are doing also politics of convenience and also politics of handouts and survival. These people, some of these members of parliament are unknown to William Ruto, and also these people, at the end of the day, it is true that our Kenyan nature, that we don't forgive our members of parliament and other MCAs if they don't dish out handouts. So there is an availability of handouts from William Ruto since 2017 until some other time this year, that William Ruto has been dishing out handouts to people and also gracing rural constituencies and all that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. We apologize for that. Douglas Kirimi seems to be having a bit of trouble with his connection, but once he's able to fix that, we shall have him. So there's also something else that happened over the weekend, that is the coronation of Speaker Muturi as the leader, a spokesperson of Mount Kenya region. And the story is on page 6 of the Star newspaper. Pay off debt by backing Muturi, Kikuyus urged. The coronation of National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi has rekindled an onslaught by Upper Eastern to control the politics of Mount Kenya region. Muturi was enthroned on Saturday as the region's spokesman in an event attended by hundreds of elders at the Mukureni wa Nyagathanga Shrine in Kiharu, Murang'a County. Prayers and sacrifices marked the cultural event, hailed as giving the speaker a head start in the presidential ambitions after President Uhuru Kenyatta exits the scene. The development has triggered an east-west divide, with those angling to succeed Kenyatta, largely from the Kikuyu community, crying foul, and there was no consultation on the choice. But proponents say that East has supported leaders from the West since independence, and nearly six decades on. The Eastern Bloc says it is time the debt was paid. Kuna deni all over this country now. Professor.
Miriam, whatever you do, so long as it's not unconstitutional, it is not unlawful, Miriam, and so long as it's a cultural thing, Miriam, how do I stop people from going to the cave, Miriam? to just go there and hibernate there for 8 days, and then you come out and then you slaughter some rams and you feast Miriam, and then they say you have supported the other side for all these years, Miriam. Miriam, are we making a cow? Are we creating another Kenya for Central Kenya, for Mount Kenya, so that is that their country, Miriam? If as long as it will be for on the and I want to believe, Miriam, they were not talking about the presidency and the leadership of this country. If it was the leadership maybe for the caves around Mount Kenya, that the other side has taken, has been able to over the leadership for so many years. But when it comes to the people of Kenya, Miriam, the leadership of this country, Miriam, the people of Kenya have to decide. Well, are you telling people, those who don't have caves, to go and have their leaders, Miriam, they don't have an opportunity of being leaders of this country? How will the rest of Kenyans see you that you went to the cave and some rituals were carried on you to be their leader? Oh, come on, Miriam, there's some good courages which we need to embrace. But you want to tell Kenya, we know even in the parliament, you know, the members of parliament saying that their speaker has disappeared. They could not be able to find him. But there was an assurance that from the deputy speaker that he's safe. And indeed he's safe. He was hibernating so that he can be able to undergo the rituals in the cave. Very unfortunate. But if that's their culture, fine. But the people of this country, Miriam, was going to rise to this country, the one who can unite this country. Yes, diversity is good. What do you bring on board to unite us? But the people of the mountain just going to the caves, have rituals, take oath, so that now you bind yourself together and you are now going to represent this on the people of Kenya, Miriam. I think that is undoing, and from where I sit, I've been an admirer of Muturi. That one, he loses my vote. Honestly, I tell you. He completely loses my vote. Because if they say now, Kibaki was coming from this side, Jomo was coming from this side, Uhuru was coming from their side, now it is the east of the mountain. So you want the leadership of this country, Miriam, is going to rotate around the mountain. It should also be around the lake so that we can be able to swim. We swim around the lake, also we go to the coast, Miriam. So we have got a long way to go. And I have even seen among the Mount Kenya people, they seem not to agree because there's just a few individuals who were meeting Miriam when they were having their muratina. And they said, do you think we can be able to put you our spokesman, Miriam? But if it's going to be their spokesman, Miriam, in terms of their culture, in terms of doing things, Miriam, I don't have a call. But if there were some rituals which were done on the cave and saying now this is going to be the leader of Kenya, that's where I have a big problem, Miriam. I submit.
I think those are cultural practices from the people of that tribe. I did not understand a lot of it, but I respect it. It seems to be having a lot of significance, and you could hear when the elders were speaking, and this meant so much, and it meant a lot in terms of leadership and how they coordinate and how they decided who will lead, that region. But of concern is that Embu, Meru, Bere, and Tharaka have supported Kikuyu leaders, among them Jomo Kenyatta, Mwai Kibaki, and President Uhuru Kenyatta.
That's where the problem is now.
And Muturi is being positioned as the person with whom any political faction will negotiate issues affecting central Kenya. So they're not saying necessarily this is the person who will be our presidential candidate, but they're saying in case of any kind of negotiations, as you've seen, the deputy president has been negotiating across leadership of, I know you're not agreeing with that, but they're saying if you want to speak, because President Kenyatta has exited,
Miriam, I have always said, when someone is telling you the opposite is true, this is their presidential candidate. For those people who are having that narrow thinking that now they have represented from the west, now from the east. They will say, no, it's not from central Kenya. It's from Meru and the Mbere. This is very cheap.
I'd like to hear what Douglas thinks about it. Douglas, you have a new spokesperson.
Yeah, Douglas is involved. He can tell us whether it was around the cave.
from Meru County, Douglas.
Thank you, Miriam. And I also want to agree with my governor and also the other governor of our sister county, Tharaka-Nithi County, that Speaker Justin Muturi is qualified to be the leader of the Mount Kenya people, the spokesperson of Mount Kenya people. Professor, there is no problem if the speaker, Justin Bidan Njoka Muturi, becomes the spokesperson of our people. Even in your Kisi backyard, we have seen you trying to coronate Matiang'i to be a spokesperson. But some people have been resisting. So there is no problem at all.
Okay.
Kireito Murungi has become very old. He said the other day that he wants to concentrate in his gubernatorial.
Douglas, you seem to be having a problem with the reception. I don't know how you're going to correct that, because I really wanted to hear your opinion on that. So if you can position yourself properly and maybe see if you can fix it, then I'll come back to you. Samuel Tawish is joining us also this morning. Tawish, a very good morning to you.
Miriam, let me just make the records clear. Miriam, just a moment.
Okay.
I did say I have no problem with people's culture. Get from me. And diversity is very rich. But the problem I have is you go in a cave. What are they not doing in a cave? You put him as spokesman. You are now going to front him to be the president to be the president for the Republic of Kenya. And that is cheap politics. Douglas is to listen to me that there's no problem. What they are trying to say, the Kikuyus have been able to produce 3 presidents. So it is high time they switch to the Mbere, the Embu, the Taraka. Miriam, that is not how you build a united Kenya. That's what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Then someone rise on merit. But if it is on there, it can be a spokesman to do with their culture, to do their own things. Miriam, I have no quarrel.
All right.
But the problem here now is tomorrow they are going to tell us this is not a Kikuyu. Are you getting on?
All right.
That's where I have a quarrel.
You have a problem with that.
Because
And the
they
rest
know-
are feeling, and the rest of the Mount Kenya region are feeling, we have not heard the presidency. So if anything, I mean, we can still run if anything. But that is not why we are told Speaker Muturi went through all this to be coronated as the speaker of that region. And President Uhuru Kenyatta, I think, has given his blessings on that. He was challenged and he accepted, and he said, you know what, that's okay. We could have a speaker for this region from a different tribe. Tribal politics here at play. Samuel Tawish, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning, Miriam, and my colleague, panelists, and everyone who is watching us. Indeed, it's a bright morning right here at the heart of Kenya's capital, Nairobi.
All right. So we are looking at the coronation that happened over the weekend of Speaker Justin Muturi. And now of concern is that Embu, Meru, Mbere, and Tharaka, they're saying they've been supporting Kikuyu leaders from in the Mount Kenya there. And they're saying Muturi is now being positioned as the person whom any political faction will negotiate issues affecting central Kenya. But Professor is saying now, this is the person they want to front again as a presidential candidate, and he's not agreeing with that. But they're saying he will be just the speaker of this region.
Well, Miriam, I think, first of all, I'm one of those people who are not very surprised that such kind of initiatives are being brought forth to actually groom the likes of Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Bundi Muturi, to be our next, the spokesperson for Central Kenya region. But what has drawn the mixed reaction is the fact that there's a feeling, especially amongst a section of politicians and leaders drawn from the larger Mount Kenya region, that perhaps this event, one, should not have been held in Murang'a County, specifically because it has not leadership in that particular place, like it has been Mwangi wa Iria and Kirinyaga's Anne Waiguru and others who have a very big misgiving regarding the coronation of Speaker Muturi to be the spokesperson of the larger Mount Kenya region. So I think what is basically happening in the mountain is more of the jostling for position, jostling for supremacy, jostling for identity to actually, now you see President Uhuru Kenyatta will be finalizing his second and last time in office in about 14 months or so, if I'm not very wrong. And therefore they feel there will be a vacuum that needs to be filled. And that's why you see every group with their own interests are coming up with their own plans to try and install or have somebody, an alternative, when President Uhuru Kenyatta actually exits power. But I think, Miriam, this is something that is far-fetched, an idea which is kind of misplaced. One, because by virtue of the fact that President Uhuru Kenyatta will be leaving State House in 2022, doesn't necessarily mean that Mount Kenya will lack a spokesperson. Doesn't mean that Mount Kenya will not have a shepherd, a person who will give them direction on what kind of direction to take when it comes to 2022 and the future politics. Because necessarily it doesn't imply that Kenyatta, when he hands over instruments of power as president, he cannot continue being the Mount Kenya spokesperson. But I do not understand whether really there's a blessing of President Uhuru Kenyatta on this. Maybe he really wants to hand over to somebody else, because the way the whole thing was done, Miriam, and I want to be very honest on this, observers, keen observers like us, people who have held and done politics, especially in the media, this is not something that was just, that happened just impromptu. It is not something that just happened accidentally. It's something that appears to have been laid out properly. It has the blessings of the powers that be. I think we'll be living in denial. Look at even the security detail. Look at how everything was planned. Because I can assure you, Miriam, if it did have the blessings of the powers that are, then we will not have even seen the kind of security, beefed security detail that was in Muranga.
So when you say,
in the run-up to that coronation. When
you're saying the power that be, do you mean the head of state?
Maybe that is exactly what I'm trying to say, Miriam, without mentioning the President Kenyatta himself.
Well, let me help you, Tavish. Let me help you, because the story is on the front pages, and then you will continue on the Daily Nation, and it says Uhuru had in Muturi's coronation, and it says revealed it all started with President Kenyatta's remark in January that the presidency was not a preserve of only two communities. One of the planners of Saturday's ceremony says, taking the cue, Meru's during Cheke's elders then made a suggestion to the head of state, which he did not oppose.
Well, Miriam, it doesn't really matter, because again, there's a lot of hypocrisy and doublespeak when it comes to exact reason and the exact reason as to why Muturi has been coronated as Mount Kenya spokesperson. Because the people who are actually officiating or spearheading this coronation didn't come out openly and speak about politics. I mean, look at the likes of Professor Peter Kagwanja when they were speaking during that event. They did come out openly and said the coronation of Speaker Muturi has nothing to do with politics. It is more of just giving Mount Kenya a sense of direction, having a person who will speak on a myriad of challenges and issues that affect the region. And at the same time, they didn't speak about whether they're actually grooving him to actually succeed President Kenyatta come 2022. So I would expect, as a primary submission or obligation or a responsibility from such people, to come out and tell Kenyans that we are doing this in preparation for President Uhuru Kenyatta's succession. But you have some people saying we are just doing this, it's a cultural event, someone who's going to speak for us, it has no political connotations. But from us observers and political analysts, we can clearly see that there are actually those political connotations. But be that as it may, Miriam, I do not have any problem for, say, the Mount Kenya region, be it Meru, Embu, Tharaka Nithi, and others, or even the larger Mount Kenya coming together and having a person who can spearhead them, as long as it's not about actually putting us into those tribal cocoons and enclaves. We do not want to go back into such kind of politics, I suppose, and that is the way we should actually approach our politics, even as we head into 2022. We do not want to start galvanizing our people, our communities, along tribal lines or along regional lines, the way we are now seeing. Because last time I saw Deputy President William Ruto being actually going through almost a similar process in Nandi. We are seeing this happening today in Mount Kenya. Maybe tomorrow Coastal will do the same and others. So, but we are always preaching and having this crusade that we need to move from this myopic kind of politics of that actually been overtaken by time, overtaken by events, so that we pull each and every community, every region, every tribe, every person along, and speak on the basis of ideology, even as we sell our policies to the people of Kenya when we seek these elective positions. Miriam, I submit.
Okay. Thank you so much. So anyway, the story is on page 4 of this Daily Nation. And I do appreciate our viewers who are watching us from outside of Kenya. Good morning, Africa. A lot of times we just delve into the news-making headline in Kenya, but also across Africa, so bear with us. But I see a lot of you are writing and some issues you're raising there, especially our viewers from Nigeria, with concern, Biafra and all that. So we will look at some of these comments later. So keep writing. I'll go through them very shortly, but we appreciate your patronage this morning. So President Kenyatta was aware and tactfully supported plans to install the National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi as spokesman for the Kikuyu and Bumeru Association, that is the Gema communities. It has emerged. The president's cousin, Captain Kungu Muigai, who was among the key planners of the Saturday ceremony, says the president was aware of the controversial plan. I don't know why the Daily Nation is putting it like that.
And Miriam, if you may, just allow me a minute, please, a minute or less to respond to something I just forgotten. There's absolutely no problem at all. For example, I will beg to differ with my other colleague panelists on this. For President Uhuru Kenyatta to have a preferred kind of a spokesperson or leader or a person who is going to speak on behalf of the Mount Kenya region, especially if he is going to exit from active politics. Remember when we had, initially when we had President Mwai Kibaki being the leader of Mount Kenya. I mean, you saw what Michuki did say. He said, anyone who wants to speak with the people of Mount Kenya, he can only but do it through its leader, is actually pronounced leader, who was President Kibaki then. When President Kibaki actually exited, they handed over that role and responsibility to President Uhuru Kenyatta. So I do not see anything strange that President Uhuru Kenyatta will be doing. Because after all, the reason why we've seen the people of Mount Kenya largely being unsettled, being jittery, and some of the people actually taking the advantage of the fact that President Uhuru Kenyatta could be exiting from active politics in the near future, the likes of Moses Kuria, Rigathi Gachagua, and others, they think now they can exploit that opportunity and be an auction the people and the voters of Mount Kenya to the highest bidder. And that is exactly what we have been seeing. And so I think in response, President Uhuru Kenyatta is trying to tell the people, like they said, the people who are behind President Uhuru Kenyatta said, they will only listen to the directive that President Uhuru Kenyatta will give them as to which way to go in as far as future politics and who to listen to in the near future politics. And I think basically that is what President Uhuru Kenyatta is doing, that if I won't be there, I'm preparing and grooming the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, to take over and be the spokesperson, so that anyone who wants to speak to the people of Mount Kenya, it is not about these other sellouts, the people who are just out to actually auction the voters of Mount Kenya in the name of actually addressing the interests and the issues that bedevil Mount Kenya. So maybe they need a person who is sober like Justin Muturi, and that is why President Uhuru Kenyatta is doing this. Unless if there is anything that we cannot actually see, if there's a hidden card behind all these maneuvers, time will actually tell. Miriam, I submit.
Okay. Thank you so much. Sam also, I wish Douglas Kirimi, I don't know if you're able to speak now and if you can hear us. Good morning. All right. Douglas Kirimi is still having some trouble with his connection there, but once he's...
Miriam?
Yes.
Miriam?
Yes.
I wanted to treat it as a cultural affair, but let me just have this because Tawis has provoked me. I can tell you for facts that Mount Kenya will have a presidential candidate. Why am I saying so, Miriam?
Martha Karua might run. Why not?
Listen. You have had several of them contesting for presidents, but there is one whom they know who is going to score. And President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta said that there is nowhere he's going. He would have a say in the region. And by the security details you have had Tawis saying, which you saw around Muranga Miriam, it tells you, and if BBI does not see the light of the day, the next president will come from Mount Kenya. Watch this. They have got the numbers and they have got what it takes. And the rest of the Kenyans, from those who come from where I come from, who have got no front, the likes of Tawis, they will come and say, my Muturi comes from a minority tribe. It's not a Kikuyu. And we will be deceived, and we will be forced to believe Miriam. So there is a wider scheme. You don't just wake up it's just an event. Someone wakes up that is going for isolation for 8 days. There is a wider scheme, and they watch this space.
All right.
Muturi is likely to be the presidential candidate for the region. A small river joins a bigger river, and not the other one. And that's what BBI was wanted to cure. That a smaller river and a bigger river, a tributary and a major river can join, and the water they can be able to flow together.
All right.
But now that we are being messed by BBI, what is this region? People who have got more than 6 million, 4 million, you don't tell them to join you, and that is not democracy. Democracy is all about numbers. Unless we go to the way the people of Northeastern Kenya, they do negotiated democracy, is when we can be able to see whether we can be able to move this direction. So there's a lot to come. Wait and see now that he has become the king of the Gama people.
All right.
Use that name. Don't call him a spokesman. They ran away from saying a spokesman. That is a king now. Because he has gone all the rituals.
And you said he was in a cave for eight days. I don't know. All right. Thank you so much. So let's just move on to another part of the country that is struggling to get a spokesperson, a professor, and bid to form a Coast Party hid snag as Kadu Wasili pulls out. The dream of forming a political outfit for Coast Region ahead of next year's general election has suffered yet another blow after Kadu Wasili pulled out of talks to merge 4 parties into one. Other parties in the grand plan are Umoja Summit Political Party of Kenya, Shirikisho Party, and Republican Congress Party. Oh, okay. Now, on Saturday, Kadu Wasili leader Gerald Iha Toya said the party had resolved to pull out of the talks and go solo in the polls after talks hit a dead end. The regional political formations there, Samuel Tawish.
I want to tell you for a fact, Miriam, that as long as our politics continue to be people-centered, it continues to be, individual-centered, we will never actually achieve the ultimate objective of unity of purpose. And that is why you see today, even the people of Coast, you remember there was a time they were agitating for the Pwani Sea Kenya. They wanted to annex part of actually Kenya, that is at the coastal region, to be an independent nation of its own. The same way, actually, South Sudan fought so hard to actually separate from Sudan, you remember. But ever since they separated, they've never seen or known peace. And I think that is the problem we are having. When these people come out and speak about a regional unity or community unity or even the tribal unity, it is not more of advocating or championing for the unity of the people of that particular region or tribe or community. It is more of an individual interest. And once that has not been solved, that is why you see people scatter in different directions. It is as simple as that, Miriam. There's no more explanation to that effect because you remember last time when they were bringing, I think it was called Jumuiya ya Pwani or Jumuiya la Pwani, under the banner of Governor Joho, Kingi, and others coming together. But it could only actually hold as long as the interest of those individuals are actually catered for. Once somebody feels like, I'm not going to be a kingpin like Professor Onyari has said, I'm not going to be the leader of this particular formation, then they will actually scatter and seek different other sanctuaries or seek other different homes. So basically, it is not about the unity of these regions. It is more of people getting political vehicles or political machines that they can use to negotiate for their own actually interests, not about the people that they purported to represent. And I can tell you, Miriam, this is something that has been there time immemorial. There are very small parties in this country. Some of them, I even hear when you mention them on this program. I never used to hear about them, but they exist. Why? Because there's a person who fears that they will be rigged out in a major political party. So they have to go for a briefcase party that will find its way on the ballot so that these people can do what? They can actually participate in elections. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes even they use these briefcase parties just to mint money from the potential aspirants, not necessarily because they believe on any ideology. So basically, I can tell you, Miriam, what we are seeing at the coast is more like what we are seeing in, for example, Western Kenya. It is what we are seeing in Nyanza. There are people who are unsettled and restless in Nyanza who feel like maybe we need to have this party or not that party. When you go to West Kenya, we have ANC. They cannot even come together with Ford Kenya, you can imagine. And we have other small and splinter political parties in those particular regions, Miriam. So I can tell you for sure that the only solution for the unity of this country is only anchored on BBI, so that we bring all people in. As much as we talk about multi-party democracy, it is not more of having all these briefcase parties just in the name of taking us to the elective positions, but more of addressing, being avenues and platforms within which we can converse and address issues that bedevil or torment our people, and not necessarily for us to be in a position to grab power through those political parties. So I can tell you we still have a long way to go if we, with this kind of dream of coming together for unity of purpose. If it cannot be achieved through BBI, then I can tell you this will still be a pipe dream for Kenyans.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much. And, for our viewers who are watching us from outside Kenya, thank you so much for tuning in this morning. I shall be going through some of your comments very shortly and some issues there that I see you raising. We shall be talking about them in the next a few hours. But keep writing and tell us what is happening where you are this morning or evening or afternoon. I don't know where you're watching us from, but I know we are being watched from across the globe. So thank you so much for finding time to being with us here today. Now, Mr. Ibrahim Hamisi, Republican Congress Party Secretary General, said it hasn't yet been decided whether to form a coalition or merge the four parties. This is not something that can be achieved in a day, and I urge patience as talks continue, Mr. Hamisi said. His sentiments were backed by Umoja Summit Party founder and Secretary General Naomi Sidi, who said there is a stereotype that coast people cannot do anything on their own. This is a stereotype we want to abolish. What they're saying, Professor, is the rest of Kenyans should start taking us serious, especially when it comes to a political might. We can do something on our own, and we're going to build a force to reckon with in the coastal region, but they cannot agree to come together.
Yeah. Miriam, I want to associate myself with the sentiment of my fellow panelists, I wish. That Miriam, you know, as I do, that I love this country. I'm very patriotic. I mean well for this country. And when a member of parliament, Miriam, who has got all it takes, Miriam, to legislate, to oversight, and represent these people. I remember it takes me to the days of Martin Shikuku, Miriam, the days of Chocha Nyona, the days of Mother Njokindungu, Miriam, who came with a sex offences bill, Miriam. The rights of Engineer Karue over the Karao, Miriam, who came with the CDF, Miriam, who thought that resources can go to the ground long before even when we had the constitution, Miriam. And these members of parliament have got an opportunity, Miriam, to sit in the National Assembly. And they oversighting. I know the people, Miriam, who we hear when they are sitting in the committees, Miriam, they go and append their signatures they have attended, and they just walk out. And now they're just coming, Miriam, to cheat the cost of people, Miriam. That if we come this way, we can be able to negotiate. Be it as it may. Even if the whole of the cost of people become under one party, and stand for the president of this country, can they make it? You need the goodwill of Kenyans. We don't want these tribal chiefs, Miriam. And I want to ask the registrar of political parties, the office of registrar of political parties. I don't think that office is doing enough. Neither whether it is properly funded, so that it ensures that these political briefcase parties, Miriam, which says that they have got offices in half of the countries, Miriam, with 1,000 supporters, Miriam. And I know we have got the intelligence of this country. I don't know, Miriam, what the intelligence does. That they cannot be able to file the returns and say that this political party doesn't have an office in Nyamira, or that it doesn't have in Narok, it doesn't have in Nairobi, it doesn't have in Murang'a or anywhere in this country. It is only doing this one. So if we are not very careful with these regional parties, Miriam, a few angry, corrupt individuals, leaders, Miriam, will come together, and Miriam, they will conspire and take the leadership of this country. And this is what is bedeviling this country. That's why you can see people going to the cave to get a spokesman to front the Kenyans and say that, I'm very serious that Professor, you can isolate someone that you are putting in a cave for 8 days and then he comes out of that. I'm trying to tell you what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say? The point I'm trying to say.
Professor.
That a few individuals cannot be able to say now, you see the individuals who have come out of the cave. Another one is coming next to the ocean, Indian Ocean. Now these spokesmen are going to come together and discuss the destiny of this country. Those are dark days, Miriam, for this country. And what we need to do, and I said with this, let us have an ideology. Are you a socialist? Are you a communist? Are you a Democrat? Are you a Green Party? Do you believe in environment? What do you believe in? So that we can be able to unite this country. We cannot afford to have people going in the coastal regions, Miriam, trying to cheat the people that they will sit down and the munas will drop down so that they can be able to correct. Tell people, Miriam, when the munas has become ripe, you can climb up and get it from there. This is the kind of the politics of empowerment, how we need to empower people. In any event, Miriam, our constitution talks about participation, and you see what it is doing, public participation, Miriam. Allow people, don't have a few elites going to cheat the masses, that this one can be done. Let us have an engagement in this country. And Miriam, if we lose the opportunity of BBI, I have been in this country for some time. When are we going to address it? When are we going to talk about national ethos? When are we going to feel about inclusivity? Don't you think when people go to the cave, that is a politics of exclusivity? When you see people going to be under the munas tree to wait the munas to drop down, don't you think that's politics of inclusivity? Why can't we just come together and have shared prosperity? Why don't we come forward and agree, Miriam, how do we pick this cake so that you can get your share, that we can get my share, and I can get a share? The kind of politics you are trying to see, Miriam, this politics of corruption, Miriam, whereby they say that this corrupt leadership, Miriam, it doesn't mean that you only need to go and take resources. Still the corruption we are seeing. And in any event, Miriam, when you talk about chapter 6 about leadership and integrity, Miriam, why don't we have a national conversation and agree, Miriam, let us divide this country, forget about Kenya, give the people, of course, their region, let the people of the mountain just be coming together. They can be in the cave for 8 days and they decide how to get their leader, Miriam. It's not democracy.
All right.
There's a process, Miriam, on how you can be engaged. Right. Let the people around the lake, Miriam, they just join like this. They will be getting a fish from the lake, Miriam, so that they can do it. We have to have that kind of conversation and engagement, Miriam, and agree now. Right. This is not the way to go. If that one cannot work, let us do things, Miriam, which united this country, which make this country say that we belong to this country. Let us feel that we are proud to be Kenyans, Miriam. Just like when our athletics goes outside there, and you see them becoming number 1, 2, 3, Miriam. How that time you see yourself, how you are. This is the kind of this is the kind of Kenya imagination, Miriam.
I agree with you, Professor, 100%. When I see a Kenyan running out there, I don't even think, what tribe is this? I'm just happy it's Kenyan, and when I hear our national anthem being played out there, usually it brings a lot of pride in me. And this cave thing is not sitting right with your spirit, but we'll just leave that there. Now, as we conclude our conversation this morning, Presidential hopeful Mukisa Kitui, maybe this one you'll agree with, has said transparency and good record on governance should be the yardstick of candidates in 2022. The former United Nations Conference on Trade and Development Secretary General concluded his campaigns in coastal region yesterday as Deputy President William Ruto embarked on his vote-hunting tour of the region. Dr. Kitui said he was on a countrywide tour after consulting elders in his western region backyard. Now he has messed it, not Kenyans. And they told him, go ye forth and become the President of the Republic of Kenya. Samuel Tawish.
Well, thank you so much, Miriam. First of all, I think the great man in the name of Dr. Mukisa Kitui is a gentleman of impeccable character. is a man of integrity, is a man who served even as a minister and an MP some time back. I can't quite remember in whose administration, was it Kibaki's, or it must be Kibaki's administration. So he's a person, I will say, if you talk about character, if you talk about integrity, if you talk about uprightness, if you talk about every other value and qualification that a person seeking an elective position must possess, then I think Muhisa Kitui actually is up to the mark. But again, there's reality when it comes to Kenyan politics. Reality in the sense that it is not just about where you come from. It's not just about your family. It's not about your region. It's not about your community or your ethnic group. It's about how much you can persuade and convince the general population of the people of Kenya. I remember there's a threshold for one to become a president in this country. You must actually garner 50+1% votes. You must also get at least the backing of more than half of the 47 counties. And therefore, that in itself, actually, I think the drafters of our Constitution 2010 were very clear and categorical, and there's something they wanted to achieve. That we are not going just to have a person who has been elected by majority of his ethnic group or region, but a person who has been widely accepted by almost every part of this country. And that is why you see those particular parameters were actually put in the Constitution to make sure that you can try as much as you are acceptable beyond the breadth and width of your constituents where you come from, Miriam. So from Muhisa Kitui, I think what he's saying is what we have all along been saying, that we need a person with a track record. We need a person with impeccable character. We need a person with integrity. We need a person who is going to ensure there's a transparency and accountability when it comes to managing the affairs of the government and the affairs of the people of Kenya. And I think that has all along been the desire and the aspiration of the Kenyan people when we go to the ballot. So I think it's an eye-opener that we do not need to continue with this kind of politics of euphoria, politics where you follow someone because he comes from my region, politics where you identify yourself with someone because they speak with you the same language, politics where you support someone simply because he's of the same gender. I think, Miriam, we need to move away from such conversation and begin thinking widely, begin thinking broadly. That what are the plans? What is the manifesto? What is the agenda of this particular individual vis-a-vis these other candidates in as far as election is concerned in our country? So I think the conversation that Muhisa Kitui is trying to bring is not any new. It's something that we just need to broaden. It's something that we need to carry out more civic education on the Kenyan people to understand how elections and how leadership directly impacts on their lives. Because these are people who matter when it comes to policy making. You cannot say politics, I have nothing to do with politics, or I am not going to participate in elections after all, I'm not going to vote after all, because these are the people who determine policy. They are the people who are making policy. They are the people who are going to make sure that even in what is anchored in the Constitution, if it's about a fair share, it is the leaders, the people who are at the policy level that make sure this comes down to the ground. So it is very important. It's a conversation that we need all to support. Miriam, I submit.
All right. Thank you so much. Professor, conclude for us.
Miriam, I have watched Muhisa Kitui. Dr. Muhisa Kitui. He was among the young Turks. In 1992, Miriam, they championed for multi-party democracy of this country. They were the stars, Miriam, who Jaramogi Oginga Odinga felt in the midst of the young people, and he would feel himself young. They stood and made Kenya what it is today. I have no doubt, Miriam, that Dr. Muhisa Kitui was part of the NAC revolution. He became the minister for trade, and I know, Miriam, he can get the ministers from the Caribbean and Africa, Miriam, and they can boycott and protest among during the World Trade Organization ministers meeting. Miriam, he's a good guy. He has served the UNCTAD very well, Miriam. He has served, Miriam. And in fact, Miriam, they were worried if they can give him an extension, Miriam, to continue serving. But be it as it may, the politics of the reality in this country, Miriam, is not just good. I normally see him dancing very well with the Scoot dance. Miriam, if the people of Bonchari can erect someone who is not, if around this thing, this allegation, someone who has been caught receiving bribe, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million, 8 million, 9 million, 10 million, 11 million, 12 million, 13 million, 14 million, 15 million, 16 million, 17 million, 18 million, 19 million, 20 million, 21 million, 22 million, 23 million, 24 million, 25 million, 26 million, 27 million, 28 million, 29 million, 30 million, 31 million, 32 million, 33 million, 34 million, 35 million, 36 million, 37 million, 38 million, 39 million, 40 million, 41 million, 42 million, 43 million, 44 million, 45 million, 46 million, 47 million, 48 million, 49 million, 50 million, 51 million, 52 million, 53 million, 54 million, 55 million, 56 million, 57 million, 58 million, 59 million, Is he not a member of parliament for Monchari? Was he not elected? And then you want to tell me that with all the credentials, the credibility of Dr. Mukisa Kitui, who will elect him, Miriam? Which kind of people will go for fraud
as well? We have a person who has been elected that has a questionable academic qualification. That is Kenya for you.
You are trying to say, so Miriam, we have got surely a lot of work to do, and we cannot run away from it. This is the kind of conversation we are trying to say. We are pleading to our fellow Kenyans, Miriam. Can we do things right? I know, Miriam, if Mukisa Kitui gets an opportunity, Miriam, of becoming the president of this country, Miriam, one, we will get international credibility. But who cares? That's the reality, the theory we can be able to say immersed in it. But Kenyans don't consume that. Kenyans can consume a pound, a glass of changa of 20 shillings or 10 shillings. And then they can be able to auction this the destiny of this country. So we have got a lot of time, and unless, Miriam, we empower the people of this country, and that's why it is ultimate. Well, we have to fight poverty, because poverty has got a direct bearing on how we elect our leaders, Miriam. We take advantage. Miriam, you know, I teach development. And when I teach development, Miriam, and I can tell you what the poor people in this country, Miriam, it's not on their own making, Miriam. You just, you know, I have contested Tawisi, you have never known. Miriam has interviewed me, and they can tell you what I can do, Miriam. I teach very well, and I tell people, and they say, oh, that's very well. You have done extremely well. But Mweshimiwa unatuachaje. And then someone comes here, he has got nothing completely. He tells you that we don't have time for talking. We have got time. We have got no time for our manifestos. Just queue 50 things, 100 things at the end of the day. Who can listen to this Mwalimu was lecturing for them on how he's going to represent them, how he's going to register, and how he's going to oppose? That's where we have. So, Miriam, from where I sit, and to be very honest, it is good that Mukisa is giving his name so that the Kenyans can be able to choose. But the Kenyan politics, Miriam, you know, Miriam, where I've reached, Miriam, is to speak the truth and the way to go to heaven. The Kenyan politics, he has got no chance. But it's good to present this name so that when we elect these crooks, we can say that we left that good man who could have represented us well. I submit. Right. He has got all it takes to be the president of this country, even to be a president of the United States of Africa, because he's focused. He's very focused in terms of good governance. I will be talking about the state of governance in the continent of Africa too, in one of the conferences, Miriam. In terms of good governance, in terms of democracy, in terms of respect for human rights, in terms of transparent, Miriam, in terms of accountability, Miriam, you could see all these elements in Mukisa Kitui. But do Kenyans want democracy? Do they want transparent? Do they want accountability? This is where we are undoing ourselves. Right. And that's why perhaps BBI could have gotten an opportunity to address this. Because if Kenyans could have felt that they need national ethos, they need inclusivity, Miriam. We need to fight corruption so that the people don't remain in poverty. So that you bring them 10 things or a glass of changa, and then they just hammer the last nail in the covenant for this country for eternity. I submit.
Okay. Thank you so much. I don't know if Douglas was able to fix his reception there. Douglas, if you can hear me, we are done. Maybe not. Samuel Chukwudi, thank you so much for watching us this morning. Chinemerem Chimezie. These names from Nigeria. Shekar, Godwills Adams, Robert Boying, and the rest of you who have been watching us this morning. Thank you so much. And we shall be back in a few moments, and I shall be looking at some of the things that you've raised, at the conversation that you want us to have there. But in case there's something happening out there that you think you should bring to our attention, feel free, comment there on the comment section, and I'll be back here to take on some of the questions that you're raising there. This has been Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Thank you so much, Professor Jared Onyari. Thank you so much, Samuel Tawish, and of course, Douglas Kirimi, who had a bit of a technical hitch there, but he shall be back with us in the next few minutes. Thank you for watching. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Good morning.